This in the news. Dr. Hart explains change to male attire. Albany Democrat, Albany, Oregon, March 26, 1918. Dr. Hart explains change to male attire. Real identity discovered and proof held, truth beyond question. To grow up as a girl and to be known by one's playmates and school chums as a girl for the greater part of one's life, and then to discover that one's fundamental sex organs are male, and to return to the hometown in every sense of the word, a man, is the extraordinary experience of Dr. Allen L. Hart. The story sounds unbelievable, but the facts are supported by documentary evidence of such a character that there is no use pooh-poohing or denying the statement. Dr. Hart was raised in Albany, and throughout his school days and until a few months ago he was known as Lucille Hart. With every external appearance of being a girl, he was raised as a member of the gentler sex. He went through the public and high schools and through the University of Oregon College of Medicine and was always known as a girl. But long ago Dr. Hart got the idea that his makeup did not square with the facts. And as time went on and his development became more apparent, he became more convinced. During his last year in medical college, Dr. Hart consulted various experts, and a minute investigation was carried on. The following extract is from a signed statement by a prominent Portland physician and psychologist. Thorough investigation, both physical and psychological, made it perfectly evident that, to all intents and purposes, previous life had been a continuous masquerade of a male individual in woman's clothing, though from a physical standpoint the predominant type of that of a female. Physical examination disclosed certain marked deviations from the female type, while psychologically every characteristic was that of a male rather than a female. Under these conditions, it seemed advisable to assume the more consistent and natural role of the male, in spite of partial physical lack of harmony with the male type. Assumption of the male attire and the male role in general seemed to be the only feasible and rational escape from conditions which were otherwise well nigh unbearable. Following graduation from the University of Oregon Medical School last June, Dr. Hart went east. In order to completely satisfy himself of his real sex, he submitted to an operation by one of the leading physicians in the East. With the result, it was pronounced that there was no mistake about the matter. This freed Dr. Hart of his last doubt, and from then on, last August, he has continued to wear the male attire. He worked for several months in a public hospital in Philadelphia, in the South End among the Russians, Jews, and Lithuanians, poor miserable people, where the work of a good strong man was done every day. In November, he went to San Francisco and worked in the San Francisco City Hospital. The fact that he had not always appeared as a man was made known by a woman with whom he had attended college 7 years ago at Stanford University. He was recognized one day, and his informer went from place to place telling it. Although the hospital authorities were satisfied, Dr. Hart thought it best to resign and leave San Francisco, and had not been at the hospital for 10 days when the story, which was published January 15th, got into the papers. The reporter talked with Dr. Hart this afternoon at the home of his mother, Mrs. J. W. Barton, and had he not known that Dr. Hart once was known as a woman, he would never have given the matter a thought. Dressed in a natty green suit, hair cut close, Dr. Hart looks the part of a man. "I had to do it," said Dr. Hart. "For years I had been unhappy. With all the inclinations and desires of the boy, I had to restrain myself to the more conventional ways of the other sex. I have been happier since I made this change than I have ever been in my life, and I will continue this way as long as I live. Very few people can understand, even members of my own profession cannot comprehend, and I have had some of the biggest insults of my career in doctors' offices. There can be no dual sex in a person. It is either one or the other. I have long suspected my condition, and now I know. I had not intended to make it known on account of the embarrassment which it might cause on the part of former associates. But since it is out, the best thing to do is to tell the facts as they are. I have never concealed anything regarding my change to men's clothing, and after my discovery in San Francisco, I stayed at the hospital for a week and did not leave without telling all of my fellow physicians and patients goodbye. No, I will not practice in Albany, possibly not in Oregon, but someplace on the coast. I came home to show my friends that I am ashamed of nothing. I am going to Portland next week to visit at the school. In June, I will take the state examination and later the California examination. Then I will buy out an established practice or buy in with some doctor.